And there was this idea that this panoply of fair and wonderful institutions would just float down from heaven and be there. So the judiciary would work, would be fair and work, and the fire brigade would come, and when you call the police, they'd come, and they would, you wouldn't have to give them any money and all of that sort of thing. I don't know where this idea came from, and of course it didn't work. And I covered um, 7 coups d'états. That's the military rising up against the government there. And this was coups d'états where people had guns and people died and all of that sort of thing there. And I tracked down one of the coup leaders there. Um, there were 2 of them. There was one guy called Red Kapunen, and he was an Air Force guy. He flew the lead helicopter in the film Apocalypse Now, in that very famous scene where they're playing the Ride of the Valkyries, and they land, and the late great Robert Duvall is on the beach there saying, "I love the smell of napalm in the morning." And the guy that flew that helicopter was the same guy that carried out that flew the helicopter for the coups in there. These are really bright young kids I call them. And then another one was a really dashing young colonel, and he would parachute on special forces operation with a snake in his pocket. And he did that because I think it's a sort of legend, a snake. I never could quite work out why. But there was, at the time that I was there, the young female war correspondents were all swooning over him because he was this absolutely sort of dashing young figure. And so that was 7 coups d'états, and still the Philippines is all over the place. The son of the dictator that was overthrown is now the president, and he's called Ferdinand Marcos too, and the corruption is rife, and this is rife, and that is rife, and that's 25, 30 years later or whatever. And this idea that I sort of saying this because there's all this stuff going on about Iran at the moment, and these things, I get so angry because you can't just strip away one thing, one leader or something, and expect everything to be fine. It just doesn't work. Like they don't have like the US has got, or like we've got, is the president goes, you've got the vice president, then you've got the speaker of the house, and all the rest of it. You don't get that over there, and you don't quite know what happens in these places except war breaks out.